Hi guys, how you doing? I'm Ash Robertson and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to The Ash Show, only on YouTube. On today's show we're going to be talking about the... It's on my screen.
Got a problem.
What's going on?
It's broken.
What do you mean it's broken?
Power problem.
So I've got to do the whole show like this?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to look shite, isn't it?
No, it look alright.
Are you joking? No, do you know how much it costs to get this screen put up? Well, okay, not that much, but...
Yeah, just do it in your house.
Now what am I going to do? It looks shite. I'm not doing it like that.
Do it in your house.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it like that.
Be alright, just do it in your house.
You really?
Just do it in your house, it'll be fine. Who cares?
Okay. Apologies for the technical problem. Looks like we're having some issues with special effects. Well, let's take you into my house. Welcome to The Ash Show. Hi guys, you're joining me in my front room. Welcome to my couch. This is where I like to kick back and chill out. There's a number of different ways you can do that. Sometimes I like to sit like this with one leg up, as you can see. But there's a number of different positions that I like to adopt. Sometimes I like to sit like this. 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 Sometimes I might sit down here. Sometimes I might sit like this. Sometimes I might end up like this. Sometimes I might end up like this. All day telling you how to sit on my couch. No. I'm here today to talk about something different. I'm here to talk about retro gaming machines. I have three things in particular. I'm here to talk about the Nintendo Mini Classic, the Super Nintendo Mini Classic, and the AtGames Sega Mega Drive flashback system. Now for this we're going to move over into my games room. Let's take a look. Look, I don't care what you say, I'm not doing the whole show in the nude. I didn't agree to that. Hello guys, so you've already made yourselves comfortable. Welcome to my games room. This is where I like to kick back, chill out, play some games, have some fun, chill out. As you can see here, I've got my 3 televisions set up. Got your classic LCD television and 2 of the traditional CRT televisions. In here I've pretty much got every single games console you could get your hands on. I've got the Nintendo 64, I've also got the Sony PlayStation 2, I've got the PlayStation 3, and I have the 3 retro games machines, the Nintendo Mini Classic, the Super Nintendo Mini Classic, and the AtGames Sega Mega Drive machine. And those 3 machines are what I'm going to be talking about today, so let's take a look. Okay, so last year Nintendo released a retro version of their original Nintendo Entertainment System, a miniaturized, scaled down version of the Nintendo, which looks a little bit like this, and this was known as the Nintendo Mini Classic. And on here, this contained 30 built-in games, classic, best-selling games from the Nintendo Entertainment System era. Look how small it is. Very small indeed. Now, traditionally, on the larger original machine, you would lift this flap up and put the games machine cartridges inside. Now, with this, all the games are built in, so there's no need to do that. So this, whatever games were coming in built in on here, that is what you get. And they've pretty much picked 30 of the best, I would say. There's a really good range of games on here. You've got games like Pac-Man, you've got Castlevania, you've got the original Super Mario, you've got Super Mario 2, and you've got Super Mario 3. One of the great things about these machines also is that you do get an actual official Nintendo controller to use, as you can see here. This is pretty much an exact replica of the original Nintendo Entertainment System controller, which came with the original machine. Fantastic. Looks absolutely brilliant. The only downside to this, if you can just bear with me a second, that is the length of the lead. That is Nintendo, if anybody's watching, that is ridiculous. Now, the original one was nowhere near that small. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, thankfully, you can buy extensions. Obviously, that's what I had to do, unless I was sat literally on the television. So, this is a third-party made extension cable, as you can see here. Pretty long, makes the cable a lot longer. So, all that does is clips into the controller end like so, and that makes the lead a hell of a lot longer. So, get yourselves onto, I think, Amazon, which I got mine. I actually got mine in a pack of 2, so if you're playing 2-player games, you can obviously have 2. So there you go. So check that out if you haven't already, the Nintendo Classic Mini. Now this year Nintendo decided to bring out another games machine. Obviously the follow-up to the Nintendo Mini Classic is of course the Super Nintendo Mini Classic. Again, look how small it is, absolutely tiny. Now I do have one of the, well, my brother's girlfriend has an original Super Nintendo and we put that on over Christmas, and comparing the size of this one to that one, it's absolutely miniature. Now you might think, it's got a cartridge port, but no, you won't fit anything in there, it's just for show. So you've got the reset button there, the power button. Sorry, you've got the eject button, which doesn't actually do anything. The reset, the on and off button, and the reset button there. But look at it, it looks brilliant. Now with this, you get slightly less games, you get 24 built-in games, but they are 24 very, very good games. You even get a game that was never released, it's called Star Fox 2. So this was the sequel to the original Star Fox on the Super Nintendo, which ended up not being released and turned into the Star Fox game on the Nintendo 64, Star Fox 64, or as we know it here in the UK, Lylat Wars. Now this game, it comes built in with Super Mario World. That one was absolutely classic game, and that game to this day is one of the best platform games ever released, and I would highly recommend playing that. It's also got games on it such as, there's a Kirby game on there, Donkey Kong, fantastic game. You've also got games such as Street Fighter Turbo, the best version I would say of the Street Fighter 2 game. Great machine to have, as I'm sure you'll agree. Like the Nintendo Classic, this comes with a pretty much exact replica of the original Super Nintendo controller, as you can see there. Looks and feels fantastic. All the buttons exactly where they should be, and thankfully the cabling on this game's controller is quite a bit longer than the Nintendo one, which is great, but I would still recommend picking up the extension cables if you can. So this one here, this will extend your cable length and just make your overall gaming experience a lot more pleasant. And finally we're here to talk about the AtGames Sega Mega Drive machine. Now this is also a rival flashback retro gaming machine that was released by AtGames, who own the Sega brand. Here it is, the Sega Mega Drive AtGames flashback system. Now, as you can see here, quite a bit larger than the other ones, so let's just do a little bit of a comparison. There's the little dinky Super Nintendo Mini Classic, and this is the Sega Mega Drive flashback. Now, it's a little bit larger as you can see, but it does resemble pretty much an exact replica of an original Sega Mega Drive. It's got a red light that lights up here, and it also, as you can see, includes a cartridge input. Now that's one big bonus with this. Not only does it allow you to play several built-in games, over 65 built-in games, Sega Mega Drive games I should say, it does actually allow you to play original Sega Mega Drive cartridges, which is fantastic. On this machine you have a wide range of games, not just games that came out on the Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis as you call it in America. You've got games that also appeared on the Sega Master System, and also games that appeared on the Sega Game Gear. So we've got games such as Alex Kidd, Alien Storm, Altered Beast, we've got eSWAT, we've got all the Golden Axe games, we've got Sonic 1, 2, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3D, Virtua Fighter 2, which was a bit rubbish really, Vectorman 1 and 2, very good, Super Thunderblade, all the Mortal Kombat games, not a bad selection at all. The only thing I will say is there are some absolutely shite bonus games on there. Basically, these are sort of free games you might pick up off the internet. They seem to have dumped them on there just to add a bit of extra games on, so they can advertise the fact there's 85 games included. There are not 85 Sega Mega Drive games on here. There's about 50 odd Sega, or even maybe 30 or 40 Sega Mega Drive games. The rest of them, Sega Master System, Sega Game Gear, and the shite bonus games. But the games that they do have on there that are Sega Mega Drive, there are a good selection. What I will say though, is it doesn't include Streets of Rage. If you've got a cartridge of that, you'll have to put that in, or if you don't, you'll have to fish that out. Okay, in the box you get two controllers with this machine. Now these controllers do look rather much like a Sega Mega Drive games controller. However, they are wireless, which is an advantage. However, one thing I will say is the build quality is not quite as good, as you can see. For some reason these buttons are raised so high, so when you're pressing down it almost takes like a second or half a second to sort of move left and right, and it does, for me, create little problems when you're playing games such as Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where you need instant control of that little hedgehog. Same with these buttons, they're chunky, they're just a bit, I mean look at the size of that, it's just not, doesn't feel quite right, I would say. Not bad, but not great. If you can, I would advise using an original 6-button Sega Mega Drive controller. This does actually have ports for the original Sega Mega Drive controllers, but bear in mind it only takes the original 6-button controllers, not the 3-button controller. So bear that in mind if you're buying one or if you're digging them out. Don't get caught up in that. So which machine do I prefer then? Well, let's start with the AtGames Sega Mega Drive flashback. Now, first of all, you've got to bear in mind that this machine was not built by Sega. This is built by the company AtGames. That's why it's got an AtGames logo on it. Now, Sega, for some reason, rather than build their own machine from scratch, they've decided to license out the Sega and the Sega Mega Drive brand and the Sega Genesis brand in America, so that AtGames can produce their own retro machines, probably for Sega to make more money and basically allow them to rake in more revenue. But that does also mean that this is not can feature the same quality check that you might find on a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo machine, because they are not made solely by Sega. These are made by AtGames. Now, AtGames haven't done a bad job, but what I will say is some of the emulation on these games is not as good as some of the quality of the emulation you get on a games machine like the Super Nintendo Classic or the Nintendo Classic. Certain games like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 I found would slow down slightly. Some of those games originally used to use quite a lot of processing power on the original Sega Mega Drive machine, and you can feel it slagging slightly, and it doesn't make it any better when you're using these controllers. For some reason, this controller makes the whole gaming experience a lot more unpleasurable, I would say. So that's definitely what lets this machine down. So if you're going to buy one of these, make sure you try and get your hands on an original controller. So not a bad attempt, looks great, just feels a little bit cheap, that's what I will say. And at 80 quid, which is what they're asking for it, it shouldn't, because it's not too far off the price of the other ones. Let's have a look at the Nintendo Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic. Well, both these games machines, fantastic. Really enjoy these. The build quality is fantastic. The controller that comes with the pack is absolutely brilliant. But out of all three, I would say my favourite probably has to go to the Super Nintendo Mini Classic. Basically because it's just got some fantastic games on there. The original Super Mario Kart is great fun. You've also got the Super Mario World game, which is fantastic. The Zelda games, Street Fighter, great fun to play. And it's just a really great product, great quality and great fun to play even now. Some of the games on the original Nintendo Classic, I mean, I didn't grow up with this one. I grew up in the sort of Sega Mega Drive, Super Nintendo era, so maybe that's the reason. But for some reason, some of the games on here are a little bit naff. And you know, it goes by the age of the console, I suppose. But for me, I would highly recommend, if you're going to pick one of these up and you just want a bit of a slice of retro gaming, I would recommend the Super Nintendo Mini Classic. Me, I couldn't decide which one to get, so I got all three. What an idiot. You can see what I've been doing over the past few months. Well, thank you very much, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the Ash Show, and I hope you tune in next week. Next week, I've got a very special episode. I'm going to be joined by my brother, who has been playing Mario Kart. No, I don't mean on a Nintendo. I'm talking about this guy's been all the way to Tokyo, Japan, and he's been playing Mario Kart for real on the actual streets of Tokyo, racing around as Luigi with his friends on the streets of Tokyo. Not only that, he's been to the only virtual reality theme park in the world. Yes, it's all the way in Japan, and he's been playing Mario Kart VR in a theme park that's the only location in the entire world you can experience Mario Kart in VR. We're going to be hearing all about that next week, so tune in next week. Thank you for watching the Ash Show. Have a great day. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also email me at theashrobertson@gmail.com, and don't forget to also follow me on Facebook. Head over to facebook.com/theashshow and hit the like button. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next time.